Man, this whole government of national unity thing is going to drive South Africans insane. And to be honest, the news publications are not doing us any favor. Because when you go online, every 15 minutes, there's a news story. Literally, every 15 minutes, there's a news story. Politicians are all over the place. They are trying to put out fires, accusing some of the news publications of spreading lies about them. As for South Africans, they are just standing there as spectators. They are confused. They don't know what's happening. They cannot even keep up with the stories that are coming out about the government of national unity. And when you sit down and actually follow these stories that have been coming out about the government of national unity, you could actually sense that the media is trying to tell South Africans that this government of national unity is going to collapse before it even starts. I don't know, maybe this is the position that the media has decided to take, or maybe the media bosses do not want the government of national unity to work. This is the reason why they have instructed their puppets to bombard South Africans with stories every 15 minutes. Or maybe these people are simply telling South Africans the truth, that things are not as good as you people had hoped. Things are bad. Things are bad. You know, guys, me personally, man, if I was one of those people, man, negotiating, I would have actually suggested that, guys, maybe we need to form a communications team so that we can update the people outside ourselves, instead of the people relying on these news publications that are bombarding them with the stories. The people need to hear from us. And I think South Africans would have actually be at ease with everything that has been happening. But right now, when you speak with the people, man, some of the people are starting to give up on this whole idea of the government of national unity, simply because people are reading the stories and people are saying, guys, maybe we need to brace ourselves. Things are not as good as we had hoped. And this is the reason why I say, me personally, I don't know if it would have worked, but I would have actually suggested that maybe, guys, we need to form a communications team so that people can hear from us, instead of relying on these news publications that have been accused of spreading lies every 15 minutes.
Welcome to the State of the Nation weekly update, brought to you by Pace Car Rental. This is our last look back at the elections and the establishment of a new government. So it's be the last one that I'll be doing alone. But from next week, some of our guests will be returning to assist me with the weekly update, and you'll get to hear from some of the specialists on specific topics. This week, I want to end off the election part of it, because by next week this time, we will know the cabinet is.
Unfortunately, we still don't know who the cabinet members are. You remember last night, even Gayton McKenzie tweeted about this. He said that the reason why Ramaphosa has not formed a cabinet, or the reason why Ramaphosa has not announced the cabinet, is because political parties are fighting for positions. Political parties are fighting for positions. It is not about policy. It is not about how they're going to move South Africa forward. It is about possessions. So allegedly, this is the reason why Ramaphosa has not announced his cabinet. There is not a consensus about the ministerial positions in the government of national unity.
We'll start becoming a government, and we can then go get on to normal business within the country. For those that have watched our previous updates, we've ridden the tiger a couple of weeks ago. I was quite depressed, thinking that the government of national unity that has emerged could never emerge. Then it did emerge, and since then we've had another week to digest, and the news is very positive at this stage. Got to understand that it hasn't really taken effect yet because they haven't formed a government. But the response, if one looks at the stock market, if one looks at the reaction, the international reaction, has been very, very positive, and it gives South Africa probably our best chance that we've had in years of turning the corner. So what I want to do in this weekly update is I want to have a look at where each party stands at the moment, the political parties. They were so important to us a few weeks ago as we were heading into the election. But let's have a look at what this government of national unity and the subsequent government of national unity and the effect on the political parties themselves. Because remember, we are always politicking. In 2 years' time, we'll have local government elections, and soon enough we'll start talking about the next general election. And a lot of it can hinge on what happens with this government of national unity. So let's just look at the major parties and what the effect has been of becoming part of the government of national unity or not, and how this could play out in the future in terms of their support. Firstly, I'm going to look at the parties that are in the government of national unity, and then we'll turn to the opposition parties in a minute. So let's first deal with the biggest of the parties, that is the ANC, the African National Congress. As we know, must have been a terrible day in Luthuli House when they realized that they had lost their majority, and not only lost their majority, but lost it quite resoundingly, to go from 57% of the national vote to 40% of the vote. Clearly, that is going to have a colossal impact on the party. It already has, but they haven't felt it yet. Their ministers from the previous administration are still in place. All their public servants and the deployed cadres are still getting their salaries. It's going to change in a few weeks' time. But let's have a look at what they stand to gain or lose by this government of national unity. And quite clearly, the ANC has the most to gain and the most to lose with this government of national unity. So let's look at it from a simplistic point of view. If this government of national unity works out positively for South Africa, I think that the ANC will have what they love to say is the good story to tell. They will say through their diplomacy, through their maturity, through their...
And guys, how long do you think this government of national unity is going to last? Because the last time we were on this position, it was on 1994. And I think it only lasted like, what, 2.5 years? How long do you think this government of national unity is going to last? With 10 political parties? And how hard is it going to be for them to actually make any decisions? Because now, unlike before, you remember last time it was the ANC, DA, IFP, and Patriotic Alliance. I think if it was just 4 political parties, it was not going to be hard for them to actually agree on anything. But now that you have 10 political parties, how hard is it going to be for them to actually reach a consensus about anything? Do you think that is going to work on their favor, to have a lot of political parties, or do you think that eventually it is going to work against them? Because you know some of the political parties that have decided to join the government of national unity now, these are some of the people that have formed the Progressive Caucus. You look at political parties like the UDM, you look at the political parties like the PAC, political parties like Al-Jama. These are people that have said that we don't want anything to do with the government of national unity. But suddenly they made a U-turn and said we are going to join the government of national unity. So if you are ANC, if you are DA, can you actually trust these people? That way, once members of the progressive forces that have declared that we want to destroy this government of national unity, you remember that the Progressive Caucus, what they want is to make sure that the government of national unity does not work. So if you are ANC, can you trust the UDM? Can you trust Al-Jama? Can you trust the PAC? Can you trust these political parties that wanted to destroy you just last week, and now they say they want to play with you? Are you telling me that this is not one of the plans from the Progressive Caucus, that guys, maybe a couple of political parties need to go and join the government of national unity so that we can have an intel about what's happening there? Because me, I don't want to lie, if I was ANC, I was going to be very careful about allowing some of these people to actually come and join the government of national unity. You see, the political parties that were not aligned to anything, to GNU or the Progressive Caucus, if they said we want to join the government of national unity, then it was going to be fine with me. It was going to be fine. But if last week you were talking about how you need to destroy me, and this week you say you want to join the government of national unity, it makes me think that Some of these political parties have only joined the government of national unity to make sure that it collapses. I don't know, maybe this is just me.
Leadership, the country is doing much better. We're sorry for what we did wrong. Please come back. Please support us. And I think that it could very well work. So for them, they stand to gain a lot. They could even be in a situation, if this government of national unity works really well, to regain a majority at the next general election. I know we're talking a long way out, but a good outcome to this administration will largely benefit the ANC. We do understand that the ANC were punished in two ways heading into this election. One was by people that have decided to vote for other parties, most definitely down in the KZN area, and most importantly by voters, traditional ANC voters, not voting at all. If the ANC do well, it would be fairly, there's an old thing in South African elections. The ANC have traditionally clocked up 10 million votes. That has been their standard over the last of the preceding elections. This election, they got 6 million votes. So one would imagine that they've got at least sort of 3 million votes out there that probably didn't go to the polls, that they could claim back if this government of national unity works out. If it doesn't work out, the ANC will carry the can. They have led everybody into this government of national unity. The people that have been left out will say it's the ANC's fault for dealing with the wrong people. The people who they have in the government of national unity will blame it on the ANC. I feel that if this government of national unity does not work out, the ANC their slide will be inexorable.
But I honestly don't think so, man. I honestly don't think so. Because when we talk about the government of national unity not working, let's make an example. Right now, people are accusing, when I say people, I'm talking about the EFF and MK party. They are accusing the ANC of selling out because the ANC has decided to work with the DA and Freedom Fund Plus. And these are political parties that they do not want anything to do with. They are saying that the ANC is selling out, the ANC is selling out. And this is the reason why people must not trust the ANC. And if you speak with the DA members right now, some of the DA members are not actually happy about everything that has been happening. Because with ANC inviting thousands of political parties, some of the DA members are starting to feel like maybe the ANC is trying to dilute the power of the DA within the government of national unity. So there are calls right now that maybe the DA needs to get the hell out of the government of national unity. And there's a speculation that if the DA drops the government of national unity, they are not just gonna pull out of the government of national unity. They're gonna pull out of the government of national unity and actually talk about Phala again and bring up the matter of Phala in parliament again. And if the DA brings out the motion of no confidence on Ramaphosa based on Phala, can you imagine what's going to happen if the EFF and MK party actually vote with the DA? So the ANC is going to use that and say that, guys, you see these people, what they are doing. They are now voting with these people that actually wanted to destroy the government of national unity. So right now, I think the DA, wherever the DA is going to be used for narrative purposes. Because right now, the EFF and MK party are using the DA for narrative purposes and accusing the ANC of working with the colonial settlers. But if the DA drops out of the government of national unity and actually brings up the matter of Phala and say that we don't need Ramaphosa as the president of the country anymore because this guy is guilty with Phala, his sofas and his mattresses, man, he stashed millions of dollars in his sofas and mattresses, and we cannot have a president like that. If the EFF and MK actually vote with the DA, the ANC is simply going to go to the people and say, guys, look what they are trying to do to the party of Oliver Tambo. The EFF and MK are now siding with the colonial settlers to destroy the party of Oliver Tambo. So I think the DA, man, is going to be used a lot for narrative purposes in these coming 5 years. Let me say, if the government of national unity actually sticks for the next 5 years, I think the party that is going to take more hits is going to be the DA. I don't want to lie. The DA is going to take more hits, because if the DA starts to feel like maybe the ANC is trying to sideline us with this whole thing of inviting thousands of political parties to come and join the government of national unity, it only means that the ANC does not want us to have the power that we used to have last week. They want to dilute our power. They don't want us to be as influential anymore. So as the DA, we're going to pull out of the government of national unity and go back to the opposition benches. And while we are doing that, we're going to push for the president of the country to step down. Man, if EFF and MK party actually votes with the DA, the ANC would have a perfect excuse to get rid of EFF and MK party. But these are just my thoughts, guys. You can disagree.
Will become a 30% party, even if they break with their current coalition partners and go into a government of national unity with MK and EFF.
Because what I'm saying is that, it's nice when these political parties work with the DA, but as soon as they stop working with the DA, they spread lies about the DA. In 2016, Julius Malema said, the DA is a better devil than the ANC. This is the reason why we are giving the DA the metros. We are punishing the ANC by giving the DA the metros. The EFF didn't see anything wrong with the DA then. But now that the DA is working with the ANC, the EFF is telling the people that the DA, it is the devil political party. It is the worst political party. So if you think that ANC is not going to apply the same tactic, then I have a bridge to sell you. Because ANC right now, they might love the DA. They might pretend like they love the DA. But when things go down, when there's a huge disagreement between the ANC and the DA, the ANC is going to talk about the DA the same way the EFF is talking about the DA. So it's fine when they work with the DA, but as soon as they stop working with the DA, they spread lies about the DA. This is why I'm saying that this political party is going to be used in this fight of ANC versus EFF and MK party.
Fault for dealing with the wrong people. The people who they have in the government of national unity will blame it on the ANC. I feel that if this government of national unity does not work out, the ANC their slide will be inexorable. They will become a 30% party.
I disagree, because I feel like if the government of national unity does not work, the ANC is going to blame everyone. They're going to say, guys, we invited everyone to come, and these people did not want to serve South Africans. They did not want to serve the poor black people of this country. They just wanted positions. And this is the reason why the government of national unity has actually declined. And I think by ANC playing the blame game, they're actually going to win more votes. They're going to win more votes. I don't think if the government of national unity fails, the ANC is going to suffer. I honestly don't believe so, because it's going to be so easy for the ANC to say that we invited these people to come, and instead of these people working for the people of South Africa, they just wanted positions. So if you want the ANC to continue working, you need to vote for the ANC, because these people that we invited, they showed you that they don't want anything to do with the betterment of this country. They just want the positions. This is what the ANC is going to say. So I kindly disagree with Mike Sham on that point.
Even if they break with their current coalition partners and go into a government of national unity with MK and EFF, it's not going to save them, because those parties will just steal the thunder. So very, very important for the ANC that this works out.
Yes, you see that point, I agree with him, that if the ANC goes into coalition with the EFF and MK party, then that is going to destroy the ANC. That one, I do agree, it is going to destroy the ANC, because one of the reasons why the ANC is where it is today is because of MK party. So I don't think the ANC loyalists actually want the ANC to work with a political party that has destroyed them, because the ANC loyalists are not fond of Jacob Zuma as we speak. They don't want anything to do with Jacob Zuma, because they are blaming Jacob Zuma for the decline of the ANC. So I don't think that if ANC works with the EFF and MK party, it is going to do them a favor. I mean, if anything, the loyalists of the ANC, they are going to to distance themselves from the political party, because they are going to accuse the ANC of working with the same political party that has destroyed them. They're going to say, maybe Jacob Zuma, man, you need to make Jacob Zuma the president once and for all, because clearly Jacob Zuma is bigger than the political party. And this is the message that the ANC has been running with for the longest time, that no one is bigger than the movement, no one is bigger than the African National Congress. So if ANC goes back to working with Jacob Zuma and MK party, the loyalists of the ANC are not going to be happy at all.
The DA, the Democratic Alliance, I think that if one looks at it from the other aspect, they have gone into this, and there's quite a few commentators that are saying the DA has got a lot to lose if this doesn't work out. I'm not so sure.
No.
I don't think the DA has a lot to lose. If this GNU doesn't work out, the DA will obviously blame it on the ANC, and the DA supporters will at least stick with the DA because at least they tried. I don't see them losing a great deal of support if this arrangement does not work out.
Yeah, I agree.
So what happens if it does work out? Well, once again, it depends. I think that at one level, the DA will get back many of those votes that left them, that have gone to DA light parties, let's call them that.
Yeah.
Parties like Action SA, Rise Mzansi, Build One South Africa, maybe even the Freedom Front Plus. They'll pick up those sort of 4 or 5% of the vote, unless the DA starts becoming more appealing to the majority of South Africa and makes a significant break into the bulge of the voters, especially in the black middle class. So for the DA, there is some upside. There could be a lot of upside if people begin to take the DA into their confidence, if they are good coalition partners, and certainly handle the issue of nationhood a little better than what they have been.
Man, if the government of national unity works, it's going to work fantastic for the DA. That is going to be the gift for the DA, because the DA on the next elections, they're going to say that the ANC did not perform, or the ANC never performed how they used to before we actually got in the room. We are the ones that actually pushed the ANC to perform the way they have. If it wasn't for the DA, then the country wouldn't be in such a good position. So it's going to work wonders for the DA. It's going to work wonders for the DA, which actually makes you think, does the ANC actually want the DA to be part of the government of national unity? Does the ANC still want the DA to be the part of the government of the national unity? Because if it works, I can tell you now, the black support of the DA, it is going to double. The black support of the DA, it is going to double, because people will say, before the DA got in the room, the ANC was horrible. But ever since the DA joined the government of national unity, we can see the results. The people are working, the stock markets, the jobs, the investments are coming, and things are better in the country, man. There's some sort of security, and people will actually go and vote for the DA. And instead of voting for the ANC, people will just say, man, maybe we just need to vote for the DA and get rid of the ANC, because we know that the ANC is incompetent. For the past 30 years, the ANC has actually proven to us that they are incompetent. So we don't need them anymore. We just need the DA. And this is the message that the DA will actually be rallying. That, guys, you saw what we did with 20%. With just 20%, we just want you to trust us with your vote. Please vote for the DA. Please push for the DA to win with an outright majority, so that you see everything that has happened right now. It is nothing to what we can do. It is nothing to what we can do. These people actually held us back in few positions. These people held us back in terms of implementing some of the policies. But if South Africans can trust us with their votes, then what's happened right now, we're going to make it look like kindergarten. South Africa is going to prosper. So if government of national unity works, that is going to be the gift for the DA. It is going to be the gift for the DA. And I can tell you now that from where the DA it is, in the next election, man, they are going to jump with like 15 or 17 points. I can tell you now.
If they're able to influence the discussion, they will do well. They will do especially well at the next local government election.
Fact.
Because South Africa's dirty little secret is that when people move from townships to the suburbs, they are quite happy to vote for the DA. They're very happy for the DA to run their wards, but not too happy to have a DA leader as president. So I think in the short term, if this arrangement works out, the government of national unity, the DA could get a very big payoff at the next local government election.
Of course.
Staying with the major partners of the government of national unity, the IFP. The IFP actually stands to gain quite a lot. I think that the IFP's biggest issue heading into this election was showing that there was a party after the ownership of the party of Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who passed away a few years back, to the point that the IFP still had Buthelezi's face on some of the campaign, which I felt was ridiculous but understandable because it became synonymous. The one became synonymous with the other. With Velenkosini Tlabisa's leadership, under his leadership, the IFP has started to create its own image, a new image of a party that's a little bit more modernist, but yet retaining that Zulu feel to it. They've gone into the government of national unity, which in a way is a head-on statement to the people that voted for Mkhonto weSizwe in the Zulu-speaking areas. It's them or us. And I got a feeling those voters could be swayed. So once again, if this arrangement works out, the IFP could pick up quite a number of votes off Mkhonto weSizwe, especially if Mkhonto weSizwe remains difficult to deal with.
And the IFP, it's important for us to actually note that the IFP is already picking up on those votes of Mkhonto weSizwe, because what happened after the elections is that some of the mayors of the ANC, they actually dropped the ANC and went to Mkhonto weSizwe pushing for the by-elections. And when the by-elections were actually held in KwaZulu-Natal, I think last week, IFP did an almost clean sweep. MK Party only won one ward, and all the other wards were won by IFP. So I think even in KZN, people are starting to, maybe let's say, I don't want to say regret voting for MK Party, but people are starting to question their decision to vote for Mkhonto weSizwe. Because one by-election, it has actually shown you that people on the ground are starting to distance themselves from Mkhonto weSizwe. Because the way Mkhonto weSizwe did on the elections, they did pretty well, even in KwaZulu-Natal, 45%, 1.5 million votes, they did very well. You could actually swear that if there were by-elections today, Mkhonto weSizwe will do a clean sweep, but IFP did a clean sweep, and Mkhonto weSizwe only won one ward. So I think the dynamics in KZN, they're starting to shift. I think some of the people that have actually voted for Mkhonto weSizwe, they've maybe gone back to sanity, and now they are now starting to vote for IFP again.
We have already seen a turn of events at recent by-elections in some of the KZN areas where the IFP was able to build on what they had in previous elections, whereas the MK got less in local government elections. There were quite a few elections done, especially in the southern KZN area, where Mkhonto weSizwe didn't get the amount of support they got in the provincial election.
Yeah.
So in the provincial election, we all understand that IFP got about 45% of the KZN vote. But then in the by-election, they only managed to get about 25%. And this could be the Achilles heel of Mkhonto weSizwe. And we'll deal with that in a second. But the biggest beneficiary could be, if this works out, IFP could seriously challenge Mkhonto weSizwe in those Zulu-speaking areas. What happens if it doesn't work out? Well, if it doesn't work out, I got a feeling that this could be a road to ruin for the IFP. So they've got a lot riding on this. Patriotic Alliance, Gayton McKenzie, has definitely made a statement, definitely got traction as the party of coloured interests. He stands an excellent chance of maintaining that vote, keeping his role, if this government of national unity works well. The biggest danger to Gayton McKenzie is that he himself starts becoming a little flip-flopper, hard to deal with. And as we saw in many of his coalition arrangements, eventually the Patriotic Alliance can't help themselves and they start asking for too much. Their partners get angry. Soon enough, there's fights. He's got a ready opponent in the DA, and the Patriotic Alliance could be seen as very disruptive. If the government of national unity is working and the Patriotic Alliance becomes very demanding and greedy, they could get kicked out of the government of national unity. It's not really going to affect their overall majority. It could be a very, very bad image for the Patriotic Alliance.
And Gaten McKenzie knows that, and you know one thing I like about Gaten McKenzie is that he's not shy to say that we joined the government of national unity because we want the police minister or we want the home affairs minister. I think Gaten McKenzie knows that he has already conditioned his people that, guys, once we get in government, something is going to happen about this crime that you people are enduring every day. So now that Gaten McKenzie is part of the government of national unity, I don't think that he's going to be hard-headed or is going to be difficult, especially to the ANC. Gaten McKenzie has shown a lot of respect to the ANC. This is despite him and the DA going back and forth on the media. But when it comes to the ANC, Gaten McKenzie has been very respectful to the ANC, because I think Gaten McKenzie wants to tell South Africans that, guys,
if they play by the rules, become a good partner in that coalition that's going to run the country, they could definitely do well out of this, maintain their votes, and maybe even build on the strong showing of this past general election.
So, guys, I wanted to say that Gaten McKenzie, he was very intentional about his campaign, and he was very intentional about joining the government of national unity, because he knows that the supporters of Patriotic Alliance, they want to see something done about crime. So if Gaten McKenzie is not given the Minister of Police, or is not given the Minister of Home Affairs, I think Patriotic Alliance is going to be very disappointed, and I think Patriotic Alliance is going to consider dropping out of government of national unity, because Gaten McKenzie was very specific by telling South Africans that, guys, we want power. We joined the government of national unity because we want power, and we want power so that we can affect people's lives. So if they are not going to get that power that they want, I don't think it's going to work well for Gaten McKenzie and Patriotic Alliance, because people actually voted for Gaten McKenzie to do something about the illegal immigrants, to do something about crime. So if Gaten McKenzie ends up being given something like the deputy of what, I don't think that is going to work well for him. They want power, and they are pleading with President Ramaphosa to give them the Minister of Police or to give them the Minister of Home Affairs, so that they can actually do something about this criminality they've been speaking about. So if Gaten McKenzie ends up getting the Minister of Police or the Minister of Home Affairs, that is going to work wonders for Patriotic Alliance, because they're going to say, guys, you saw what we did. You saw what we did with our 9 seats in parliament. You saw what we did. You just need to continue voting for us so that we can kick out these illegal immigrants. You need to vote for us so that we can fight this crime. I know how criminals think. Gaten McKenzie has been very bold by telling South Africans that we know how criminals think. We were criminals ourselves, so it's not going to be hard for us to actually catch these people. We know how these people think. We know how these people operate. So if Ramaphosa is actually gracious enough to give Gaten McKenzie that post, it's either the Minister of Police or the Minister of Home Affairs. I think it's going to work wonders for Patriotic Alliance going to 2026 local elections.
If they play by the rules, become a good partner in that coalition that's going to run the country, they could definitely do well out of this, maintain their votes, and maybe even build on the strong showing of this past general election. But I think that the PA's biggest issue is, can they control themselves from being perennial troublemakers? Can they be out of the headlines and let the others take much of the credit while they just become good at what they do? The jury's out on that one. good party is in there. I think that's just more of a reward for Patricia de Lille throwing her lot in with the ANC in the past. I don't think this matters one way or another. I think that they are one election away from extinction. Now let's look at the parties that are not part of the government of national unity. And there we've got the third biggest party at the last election, and that's Umkhonto we Sizwe. Their name has come up already because they were the factor that changed everything in this last election. They were the party that turned everything on its head by taking a lot of support away from some of the parties. They took support away, and I've worked out a formula which I think would stand up to many of the predictions made, and that is that Umkhonto we Sizwe got about 14.5% of the vote. And if you divide their share of the market, I think realistically you could say that half their vote was taken off the ANC, and about a quarter of their vote was taken off the IFP, and a quarter of their vote was taken off the EFF. Umkhonto we Sizwe is not behaving like a political party. Sometimes you can't help getting the impression that the people most surprised by their performance has been Umkhonto we Sizwe themselves. They seem to be a little bit undercooked.
Yeah.
They don't really have policies that are workable. They want to go to court all the time and fight old battles. This taking on of the election results, I think, is a bad idea because I think most South Africans are quite comfortable with the outcome of the elections, and not everybody is shouting fraud. We've got about 3 or 4 people shouting fraud, and that doesn't make a quorum. It seems like it's going to be like they're going to be difficult people to deal with in a country that's in a bad state. If the country's in a bad state, you know, you're a citizen of South Africa. What we need now is a little bit of stability, a lot of economic growth, and just everybody to calm down, right? And they are doing the exact opposite. What are the prospects for Umkhonto we Sizwe? Well, the real test is going to happen at local government level between now and the next election. They're off to in my opinion, a very bad start by boycotting Parliament before they even got there. I think that tells you that they're not serious about politics. They seem to be more built on revenge. But if they perform poorly in local government elections, be it by-elections or the coming local government elections in 2 years' time, it does not augur well. What is going to happen is going to be the inexorable slide, the many breakaways, the people leaving the party. It's already starting to look like it's going to happen, and I can't see how it doesn't happen. I would be extremely surprised if Umkhonto we Sizwe is a factor in the next election, regardless of what happens.
It won't be, because when you look at Umkhonto we Sizwe, it's almost as if Jacob Zuma did not expect so many people to vote for his political party. The way they carry themselves, it's almost as if they were not ready for what they've actually been given. Because some people are actually arguing that the reason why Umkhonto we Sizwe has decided to boycott Parliament is because they don't know who to send to Parliament. They don't know who to send to Parliament. They got 45% in KwaZulu-Natal, and many people actually thought that Umkhonto we Sizwe was going to be able to lock political parties like NFP and IFP so that they can govern KwaZulu-Natal, but they failed to do that also. You remember last time, Hlabisa said that they waited for Jacob Zuma, or they waited for the delegation that Jacob Zuma has sent for 4 hours. 4 hours, IFP was waiting to hear what Umkhonto we Sizwe has to offer, but they didn't pitch up. So when you look at Umkhonto we Sizwe, it's almost as if they were not ready for this kind of support they actually got. Now they are all over the place. They are boycotting Parliament. They are okay basically right now with losing KwaZulu-Natal, despite getting 45% of the vote. They are okay with it. Now they are just making excuses and saying that the reason why they lost to KwaZulu-Natal is because the funders of the ANC, EFF, or ANC, DA, and IFP made sure that Umkhonto we Sizwe does not get a piece of KwaZulu-Natal. This is the excuse that they are giving right now. But to me, when I look at the party, it's almost as if these people were not ready for this kind of success. And now they don't even know who to send to parliament, who to send to provincial legislator. They are all over the place. This is the reason why they are busy throwing tantrums, doing the theatrics instead of getting to work. Because people actually thought that Umkhonto Wesizwe was going to capitalize with the success they actually got. They were going to capitalize with the success they got, but they failed to actually capitalize with the success they got. So I think eventually Umkhonto Wesizwe was formed, like Jacob Zuma said, that he wanted to rescue the ANC. He thought that if he can bring down the ANC, he can bring down the ANC will go back to Umkhonto Wesizwe, and maybe his demand of not wanting Ramaphosa to be the president of the country anymore, the ANC can say, yes, we're going to get rid of Ramaphosa and we will get in coalition with the MK party. And now Jacob Zuma has saved the ANC from Ramaphosa, but it didn't work out that way. Jacob Zuma demanded Ramaphosa to step down as the president of the ANC if they want to work with Umkhonto Wesizwe. And the ANC said, no, we are not going to do that. We are not going to allow you to tell us who our president should be. If this is your condition, then it's fine. We don't want to work with you. If you don't want to work with us because you are not happy with our president, then it's fine. We are not going to work with you. So I think that this is where Jacob Zuma's plan actually failed, because he actually thought that ANC, they're going to get rid of Ramaphosa and they're going to go into coalition with the MK party, and he would have saved the ANC from the white monopoly capital. But it seems like his plan eventually failed.
Their only chance is that this government of national unity is such a disaster, an unbelievable disaster, that people will start looking towards populists to say, rescue us. You need the country to go to war for them to do well. If we all get back to work and people start enjoying some benefit from a government of national unity, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Umkhonto Wesizwe to benefit from a government that works, even if it works half well. They can only deal in chaos, and that is, I doubt if it's going to happen. So, yeah, we could have a situation much like we had with COPE, where after 2009, the fact that they'd been put together in such a hurry meant that they didn't have decent, coherent policies, even though they had good footprint in Parliament. They could never speak with one voice. And soon enough, people started to leave and go join other parties, etc., etc. Their support base started to reject them, and now they're out of Parliament. So I don't see this as being any different, because I don't see them galvanizing behind a good idea. Then we get on to my good old mates, the economic freedom fighters. I think they've got a game on their hands. They've got one of two strategies. They are outside of the government of national unity, and that's largely of their own making. Now, let's understand that both MK and EFF are not in the government of national unity because they insisted on certain terms. They were very difficult to work with. They wanted key positions in government, the finance ministry. EFF said they'd only be in if Floyd Shivambu was made Minister of Finance. Then both parties said they'll only become a government of national unity if the ANC got rid of Cyril Ramaphosa. That's just almost saying we are not open for business, and they have been left out. So where does this leave the EFF? Well, it leaves them with policies that are not proving to be overwhelmingly popular. They were born out of revolution and frustration, and as I've said many times, I've never seen South Africa as an overly revolutionary country, and whether their message actually lands, I think, is a basic question. But the EFF got there through theatrics, they got there through organization, got there on the back of the very loud voice of Julius Malema. Will this still be enough? Let's look at the two scenarios. If this government of national unity works, it's going to be very difficult to see the EFF growing at all. They might, in fact, become less and less attractive, especially to younger middle-class people who are the bulk of their voters. The students at university. It might become unfashionable to wear a uniform when you go to university. These things come and go in cycles. So if the government...
I remember someone said that when you are in university or college, it actually makes sense for you to join the EFF and to be radical. But once you start paying the taxes, you no longer favor political parties like the EFF. This is what people are saying. That, of course, you guys will dominate there in the universities and colleges because they are still young. Those guys are still young in universities and colleges. They think that being radical means that it's a good thing. But once they start finding jobs and paying the taxes, they start to realize that, no, man, we don't need political parties like the EFF. And this is the reason why it's going to be so hard for the EFF to grow. And this is the reason why, again, the EFF actually failed to grow. Because people people might actually love the idea of being radical, but when it comes to making their country, when it comes to making South Africa not stable, people do not want that. They don't want that. This is the same reason why people are going to reject the MK party eventually, because they thrive on chaos. They don't want peace in the country. And people right now, they just want the service delivery. People want jobs. People want investors to come. This is what the South Africans want. The South Africans do not want chaos. South Africans do not want the political parties that are talking about the revolution, that are talking about destroying things. People actually want the political parties that are talking about building this country. This is the reason why these people, man, will continue to fade away. Umkhonto Wesizwe, it is popular now, but I don't think that by 2026, Umkhonto Wesizwe will still be popular. Because right now we are simply waiting to see how they are going to behave in parliament, and their behavior in parliament is going to say a lot about what these people are going to end up like. You remember Julius Malema himself, he said that from now on the EFF will not be unruly in parliament, because he's starting to realize that this barbaric behavior in parliament will never work in your favor, will never work in your favor. But we know for sure that this is the same thing that MK Party is going to come with. MK Party is going to come as barbaric. They're going to come as unruly. And this is the reason why South Africans are going to punish them in 2026 and 2029.
Of national unity works, the EFF really lose badly. If the government of national unity doesn't work, the EFF are going to be all over this one. And you could, in actual fact, see them as being the biggest beneficiaries of a failure of the government of national unity. They will make an absolute meal out of it. The I told you so's would be very loud, and they would have the CVs of just about every senior ANC person on Julius Malema's desk within weeks. So, the downside to the situation as we have it is that both Umkhonto Wesizwe and the economic freedom fighters are incentivized to make this not work, yes, which means they're going to try every trick possible. Court cases are going to flow because we know Jacob Zuma, he seems to love court cases. And the theatrics are going to flow because we know Julius Malema deals in theatrics. There's going to be an attempt to stoke violence. If the police and security services are kept on board, that won't happen. But they need chaos, and they need it soon. They don't need the government of national unity to be settled in, and they don't need the people of South Africa to start enjoying the prosperity. So hold on to your hats. They are really going to have to try, they're really going to try hard to destabilize us. Mm-hmm. Some of the other marginal players over there, Freedom Front Plus, Action SA are in a similar boat. If the government of national unity works, the DA will pick up their votes. If it doesn't work, there'll be big I told you so's and an attempt to say that the problem was that you should never have done anything with the ANC in the first place. Aside from that, one of the major changes that could happen is that if this arrangement works in South Africa and South Africa starts growing, we might actually see a decline in the number of political parties, because at the moment the growth of political parties is usually a sign of people not being happy with the options that are available to them and saying, you know, who can solve this problem? I can. I'm starting my own party. Mm-hmm. If the country's doing well, we'll have fewer new parties. and some of the old ones would disappear. So let's see. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to remain optimistic. I think this government of national unity has got the right people in the room for South Africa now, and I think the people that are involved are incentivized enough to make this work, and they've got the numbers. So let's raise the pace.
Can't rental, you just wanna sell again, Mike Sham. I don't know, guys, man. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about everything that Mike Sham has presented? What are your thoughts on what I have spoke about? Guys, please tell me what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.